You're about to enter the Reb Zone Sports Show on Fox 5.
The Runnin' Rebels start a win streak and begin to show signs of significant progress. Next in the Reb Zone, we break down blowout week in Las Vegas and look ahead to the Mountain West Conference season. Plus, everything's bigger in Texas, and there's no game bigger for UNLV's football team than New Year's Day in Dallas. We check in on preparations for North Texas. Don't reject us. The Reb Zone is throwing down some fun right now.
You are now entering the Reb Zone Sports Show on Fox 5.
Good evening and welcome inside the Reb Zone as we look at an exciting week of UNLV sports, both on the football side of things, as the bowl game is just a week and a half away, and basketball. Kevin Bollinger in studio. Runnin' Rebels head coach Dave Rice will join us shortly. Because of tonight's game against Santa Clara, we taped our conversation in the basketball offices early. Let's start our look back at the week with Friday night's cakewalk against Sacred Heart. A much smaller Sacred Heart team came into the Thomas and Mack Friday night, and UNLV took advantage quickly. Kem Birch goes inside for a finger roll for the Rebs' first points of the game, and they kept on coming. The steal by Bryce DeJean Jones, and he takes it the other way for the lay-in. Birch then works inside once again for the hoop and the harm. Then Kevin Olekabe rips the ball away and tosses it ahead to Kendall Smith, who drives in for the bucket. And then moments later, Kendall flies down the court for another lay-in. After giving up a three-pointer out of the gate, the Runnin' Rebels rolled off 18 straight points. Then it started raining threes at the Thomas and Mack. BDJ, then Olekabe, then DeVille Smith as the lead was built to 31-9. Carlos Lopez Sosa capped the first half with the alley-oop, and UNLV went into the locker room with a solid defensive 20 minutes and a 42-15 lead. At halftime, the football team was honored and received a standing ovation from the crowd, even rolling out the red cannon onto the floor. When the second half started, the Runnin' Rebels went right back to work. Birch throws down the emphatic slam. Roscoe Smith buries a jumper. Jelon Kendrick got in on the action with a nice little jumper. And on the next possession, the hoop and the harm as the lead was built to 59-23. Chris Wood had 5 blocks on the night, including this one that starts transition. And on the other end of the floor, Birch gets the follow flush. Kendall Smith finishes off the night with the drive and the lay-in. UNLV lights it up on both ends of the floor and coasts to an 82-50 victory.
Wins like these where the guys kind of can get their confidence back, and guys just looking to go out there and play hard, and easy steals turn into transition baskets, and guys getting wide open shots, just getting the feel of playing in real games.
We needed games like these. Like, we need games to blow out teams so we can get our confidence up. Because in the beginning of the year, had we played this team, I don't think we would want more than 10 points. So right now, we needed games like this to get more confidence and just play together.
We're joined now by Runnin' Rebels head coach Dave Rice, and let's start breaking down the Sacred Heart game. And I think one of the things in blowouts that's nice is you get a chance to play a lot of guys. 12 guys on the roster got playing time in that Sacred Heart game. That's good for down the road.
It is. And of course, going into every game, the number one objective is to win the game. But to be able to build our depth, to be able to get guys quality minutes, play Christian Wood a good number of minutes. Demetrius Morant got good minutes off the bench for us as well. Got to play Daquan Cook and DeVille Smith. Just it's a great opportunity as we get toward conference play to get guys game experience, because as we know, practice is one thing, game experience is a whole other thing. And we've got some young guys on this team that we're counting on in conference play that we need to get some minutes for.
Are you still looking at combinations on the floor? I know that's more usually of an exhibition, first couple games of the year, but are you still looking at who clicks better together on the floor as you get ready for conference season?
I think we're a lot closer to where we're going to be, so I have a good feel for what I want to do. Having said that, you do need depth in conference. The way the game is being called with the new foul rules, there are going to be foul issues, there are always injuries. There are just situations where certain games guys play better than other games. But I do think that I'm much more comfortable now with the injuries being much less than they were to start the season. I think we're in a situation now where I have a good feel for our rotation.
After the game, Ken Birch said that at the beginning of the season, you would have beat this team by only 10 points rather than the blowout that it was. Is that a fair assessment that he made, do you think?
It's an interesting perception that Kim has. I think that our guys feel the progress that we're making as a group. Since the Santa Barbara game, we've played hard every game. I think the major improvement for us is that we're executing on both the offensive and defensive ends of the floor for longer stretches. I mean, think about the Sacred Heart game against a scrappy physical team that's been on the road a number of times, that's battle-tested, and to have a 42-15 lead at the half. We went into this game understanding we needed to bring it from the start. We did that, and we played very, very well in the first half on both ends of the floor.
When you get out to such an early, big lead, and the game is pretty much in hand at halftime, how do you challenge your guys to make sure they keep up that defensive intensity? Do you say, we don't want them to get to 50? Do you set benchmarks inside the huddle as the game progresses to try and keep that spark going?
Every game is different. In the Sacred Heart game at halftime, I actually talked about let's go out the second half like the score is 0-0. And we always talk about wanting to increase the lead. If we're up 5, we want to be up 8. If we're up 10, we want to be up 12. If we're down 4, we want to be down 2. We want to decrease the deficit. And so I think it's just a matter of, over time, with a group that's coming together and doing a good job of just making sure we value every single possession from the start of the game to the end of the game.
Well, it wasn't the only blowout of the week. On Wednesday night, the Runnin' Rebels began their 4 games in 6 nights stretch with another blowout win against Radford. UNLV was looking to begin a win streak before the conference season began as Radford tipped with the Runnin' Rebels on Wednesday night. A UNLV size advantage paid off immediately as Ken Birch throws it down on the first possession of the game. Bryce DeJean Jones had this nice drive for a lay-in, but early foul trouble limited his minutes, and that opened the door for Jelon Kendrick to shine, and he took advantage, hitting all of his shots in the first half. Carlos Lopez Sosa saw his first playing time in a couple of weeks, and the recent graduate gets the hoop and the harm to give UNLV a 16-15 lead. They would never trail again in the game. Roscoe Smith had another big rebounding game, including 8 on the offensive end. This board and putback 2 of his 13 points. When Kendall Smith drove and went high off the glass, the lead was up to 9. And then just before the half, Kendrick beats the buzzer to give the Runnin' Rebels a 45-35 lead at the break on 67% shooting. UNLV opened the second half on a 15-4 run, capped by Birch's baseline jumper. Chris Wood was very active in the second half, hitting this 3 from outside, getting the rebound off his own miss and putting it back. Then the slam and the slap to open up a 25-point lead at 70-45. The Rebels went into cruise control in the final 9 minutes of the game. The night capped off by the nice feed to Kendrick for the finger roll. Kendrick had his best night as a Runnin' Rebel with 18 points as UNLV rolls 81-62.
I think everybody's excited about that, to get 4 quick games up under our belt. You know, have a Merry Christmas, Santa Claus come down to everybody's chimney, and, you know, continue from there and, you know, get ready for conference play, which is going to be difficult. But, you know, I think these are going to be some good games that we can progress as a team.
I think we're way better than we were against Santa Barbara. Ever since the Santa Barbara loss, we played hard every game, and unfortunately we lost, I think, like 3 games. But, you know, I still have a lot of confidence in this team. I still feel like we are a tournament team, regardless of what our record says right now.
The one thing that came out of this Radford game was the progression of Jelon Kendrick, who struggled, by his own admission, I believe, against Arizona in that second half when Kendall Smith went out. But he's really starting to come into his own now, and we saw that against Radford.
He played probably his most complete game of the year, and I brought him off the bench, put Bryce DeJean Jones back in the starting lineup, and Bryce is the key for us. But I just think that shows what a terrific character person Jelon Kendrick is. The fact that he accepted that he went out and played his most complete game of the year. Think about 18 points, but it was so much more than he understands our defensive concepts. He's a leader. He's a guy who facilitates from the wing with point guard capability, and just was very proud of his effort against Radford.
The growth of this team, you knew, and the people who had been keeping an eye on this program knew it was going to take a little while. Stylistically, though, this week we seem to see Runnin' Rebels basketball and kind of a little bit closer to where you want this team to play at a certain level.
A lot closer, and certainly we challenged ourselves early with some very difficult games. It was necessary for us to grow up quickly. We had a couple close losses, and again, I think the biggest thing was after the Santa Barbara game, just learning as a group to bring it every single practice, every single game in terms of effort. That has to be the starting point for our program. But now, for this week, in terms of the Sacred Heart game, in terms of the Radford game, just being able to execute better on both ends of the floor for longer periods of time. As we get closer to conference play, that's going to be a key, because one of our goals every year is always to try to challenge for and to try to win a regular season conference title. Something, again, that's only been done once at UNLV in the last 22 years.
When you're able to build big leads against teams and you're able to give more guys more minutes, how much does that factor in for depth as you go into the conference season?
Well, it's a huge factor, and anytime we start a game, when we put together a game plan, the number one objective is, of course, to win the game. And so if I didn't have confidence in the guys that I'm bringing off the bench, it wouldn't matter what the score was, I would not put them in the game. But again, no substitute for game experience, and to be able to have games like Sacred Heart, like Radford, that we were able to win going away, it gives those guys that much more time. But I have a lot of confidence in our guys, and I wouldn't put them in the game if I didn't. But it's an exciting time for us. We see the progress. I think when guys go in the game and they play well, it gives them confidence moving forward, and it's just a positive for us.
Well, we are only 10 days away from the start of the conference season on New Year's Day at Fresno State. Up next in the Reb Zone, we start talking Mountain West hoops, looking at some of the matchups that UNLV has in the first couple weeks of the season. Stay with
us. This Raising the Bar moment is brought to you by Born and Raised, the official home of Rebels on the Road.
The Run is back in the Runnin' Rebels. Friday night against Sacred Heart, Chris Wood gets the block, and that starts the fast break. Kem Birch is there to clean up on the other end with the slam. A little showtime at the Thomas & Mack for this week's Raising the Bar moment. Welcome back inside the Reb Zone. Now, because of the football team being in Dallas, we'll be having a full half-hour bowl preview next week. So we want to start talking Mountain West hoops, because that season tips off January 1st, just after the football game, with a noon tip at Fresno State. And this not only is important because it's the start of the conference season, but there's a little revenge factor here because the Bulldogs seemed to have UNLV's number last year.
Strange deal. They played extremely well in the two games against us, and actually Kevin Olikabe had a big hand in both of those wins. They were the only team that actually beat us twice last year. And again, start of conference play is always exciting. We know how challenging the conference is. You think about how good the conference has been the last number of years. I mean, 5 teams go from the conference to the NCAA tournament last year. I think it was 4 the year before that, 3 the year before that, 4 the year before that. So it's a conference that is gaining national recognition, respect, and there's nothing like that opening conference game. We got a challenging one at Fresno State on the 1st of January.
Does the early tip time concern you at all? You had a little earlier tip time at Arizona, but a noon tip for guys that are used to maybe playing at night all the time. Any concerns there?
Well, I think the good thing for us is we did a lot of things in the preseason early. We did a lot of our conditioning early in the day, even before class. That we've practiced on the weekends. Friday we don't have school at UNLV, so we've practiced at 10 or 11 o'clock. We practice that time on Saturdays. And so if you can't be ready for the first conference game, then there's something wrong. We'll be ready to play the game. We understand the challenge of a good Fresno State team on their home floor opening conference game. We will be ready to play, but again, know what an opportunity is, but also what a challenge it'll be.
And I know you don't want to look too far down the schedule, but when the conference schedule did come out, there was one week that stood out. At New Mexico on Wednesday the 15th, at San Diego State on the 18th. 2 of the toughest road games in the conference for any team, and you have to do it back-to-back.
Well, those are terrific teams. San Diego State is experienced and so well coached, and New Mexico is experienced and so well coached, and that's certainly a difficult week of travel. And I've always said that you can't worry about when you play the games because you're going to have to play everybody at some point in time. But certainly, anytime you've got to go on the road for 2 games in the same week, it becomes difficult. And those are 2 fantastic teams, and we know the challenge. But again, right now our focus is the games coming up, and in terms of talking about conference play, it's that difficult game at Fresno State on the 1st of January.
I know you haven't played on the road much, but did that Arizona game give you any indication that this team has the character and something a little bit different that's going to make them a better road team than UNLV has been in past years?
We are a confident group on the road, excited about the potential of us being a very good road team. The interesting thing is in our first 2 years as a staff, we were terrific on the road. During the non-conference season, I think we were 7-3, and then we got to conference play and didn't play quite as well. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that the conference is so difficult, so challenging, the travel's tough, the coaches are good, and so forth. But we are a group that's confident. We're together. I think that when you have the kind of team chemistry that we have on our team, I think that helps you on the road. We have good players. We continue to get better. We build our depth, and so we know how challenging it's going to be. But at the same time, we have a lot of confidence as we go out on the road.
Well, we're looking forward to the start of the conference season, of course. January 1st at Fresno State, then UNLV comes right back and plays Air Force here at the Thomas and Mack. We're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little Rebel football and show you how Bobby Houck and the UNLV football team is getting ready for their bowl game in Dallas.
You're watching the Reb Zone Sports Show on Fox 5.
We are 10 days away from UNLV's first bowl appearance since 2000 and the first ever on New Year's Day. With finals completed, the Rebels can now put their entire attention on the Mean Green of North Texas, a team that poses challenges on both sides of the ball. Both UNLV and North Texas come into the Heart of Dallas Bowl hot and are 2 programs that have seen a dramatic turnaround. The Rebels' progress has been well documented, but North Texas is resurrecting its program as well, posting their first winning season since 2004.
Really physical on both sides of the ball. They're good in the kicking game. They tackle well. They're going to line up and try to beat on you a little bit. They have 7 all-conference players on their starting defense, which is eye-opening to say the least, so we know we've got our hands full with them.
The Mean Green defense only gives up 18 points a game. That's 9th in the country.
Their defense is really good. You can see that they are being coached well, and they're always in the right position to make plays. They're going to be, they're going to be fundamentally sound, and they're going to be where they need to be. So we need to try and make our plays and come up with a scheme in order to attack their weaknesses.
The passing game is where the Rebels will likely have the most success, but this is the team that is stingy and makes quick adjustments on the fly.
They play real fast. They play fast. To me, they play more of a high-tempo Central Michigan, like that type of team. But they play real hard, and I feel like that'll be our biggest goal to accomplish, like beating them, like having to overcome like how hard they play and like hustling to the ball.
Offensively, North Texas features a 1,000-yard running back in Brandon Bird, who averages 5.6 yards a carry.
They're going to be balanced, but they prefer to line up and run the ball on you and beat on you a little bit and make you earn it.
Coach Houck says there are some similarities with teams UNLV has already played this season.
Attitudinally, sort of like Minnesota or San Diego State. Not necessarily schematically like San Diego State, certainly not. A little more similar to Minnesota in that regard. So should be one of those games that'll be fun to watch because it'll be teams that are physical going after each other.
Bottom line, the Rebels have proven late in the season they can line up and play with anyone. This should be an entertaining game.
Very good team. The defense is pretty good. Offense is pretty good. I mean, they're all-around good team. Chris' team is really, really good. But I mean, we're a really good team, and we proved that. So it's gonna be a great game, man.
If you're interested in going to the bowl game in Dallas, there are game tickets available. Contact the UNLV Athletic Department for more information. Time for one more break, and then we have news about next week's special bowl edition of the Reb Zone and the Runnin' Rebels Plays of the Week. First, here's a look at how other Mountain West teams did over the weekend.
You're watching the Reb Zone Sports Show on Fox 5.
Next Sunday, a special edition of the Reb Zone will be coming to you from Dallas, Texas, as the UNLV football team gets ready to face North Texas in the Heart of Dallas Bowl. We'll have a 30-minute bowl preview with what to look for in the game as head coach Bobby Houck sits down to analyze the Mean Green and give insight into the Rebel Bowl experience, plus a candid one-on-one conversation with quarterback Caleb Herring. Should be a lot of fun next Sunday night at 11 o'clock right here on Fox 5. That is a wrap for the Reb Zone. We thank you for joining us. Go out and have a very Merry Christmas. We leave you with the Runnin' Rebels Plays of the Week, and we'll see you next week from Dallas. Good night.